Issues with time management for PhD students often comes down to this one thing, and it's called maladaptive perfectionism. And the thing about this is the perfectionist side of us just rules what we do during the day. And that is because perfectionism when we're younger builds up our self-esteem. We're always told that we're doing a great job or that we get criticism and so we need to be better. So both sides of the coin are really damaging. And because we kind of consider ourselves the clever people, we always kind of like want to do better. We always see ourselves as the clever person, the person who is busy, who is always contributing, who is always doing better than everyone else. And the problem is this perfectionism causes you to create loads of rules for yourselves, loads of tiny little rules that build up. For example, I'm a perfectionist. I'm the sort of person who always responds to emails. I always do my work. I always work harder. I always make the perfect email possible before sending it. It's these tiny little rules that you do not want to break during the day because you see yourself as a perfectionist, and that really damages your time management. Take this for example. You're drafting an email. Ooh, email, nice. But the problem is you cannot just send it. You have to look over it. Maybe you send it to someone else before sending it to be like, is this the best email I could send? But in fact, this email is so inconsequential for the other person that essentially it's just a huge waste of time. It's those sort of maladaptive responses to perfectionism that can really hinder you making progress, even like on a daily basis. So you have to make sure that you do not give in to these rules, that you understand and you start testing the limits of what really matters. Now, send an email. Just draft it and send it. You'll be surprised. Inside, you'll be screaming,
"Oh my God, this is the worst email. They're going to think I'm an idiot."
But you'll be amazed that that doesn't sort of like eventuate at all. The thing is that we tell ourselves all these narratives about what will happen if we don't follow these rules, and in reality, it is not the case. So start testing your own rules. If you find yourself going down a rabbit hole of perfecting that email, for example, just stop and send it and see what happens. Inside, you'll be terrified, but in reality, nothing really will happen. And perfectionism tends to lead to two things. Either complete paralysis, where you need to make the perfect decision and the gray zone of a good enough decision doesn't work for you. So you end up just sort of like ruminating on this perfect outcome. And so you're just frozen. You can't do anything because you want that outcome to be perfect. Or you do everything. And this is where someone, they try to do everything always for everyone under every circumstance, and it leads to burnout. They always respond to emails. They always do the last little bit of work. They always put in the edits that someone asked for really, really quickly. They always do the things that are asked of them from the department, from their supervisor, from themselves, from their colleagues. And they are just busy people. So maladaptive perfectionism is where I see a lot of issues, particularly with PhD students when it comes to time management. Now, there's one thing that we love saying to other people when they ask how our day's going. We love saying, "Ooh, I'm so busy." Because society has told us if you're busy, you're important. If you're busy, you're doing good stuff. Now, the thing about a PhD is that there are countless things that are there to keep you busy that don't actually help you with research or getting further along with your career. They are just there to make you busy. So I like to tell people I'm busy, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like,
I'm so busy.
But in fact, I'm not busy. I prioritize my mornings and my afternoons. In the mornings, I do one big task related to the outcome of my PhD or whatever I'm doing at the moment. And then in the afternoon, I do another big task. And as long as I've done those two tasks, I'm happy. There's loads of other busyness that can fit into a day around those two big tasks. Going to meetings, responding to emails, walking up and down to the tea room to collect countless cups of tea and coffee because you just can't sit in front of your computer because you're fed up about reading papers. All of that busyness needs to fit around the two anchor tasks, as I call them, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, that you need to do and prioritize. That is one of the biggest issues. And from a maladaptive perfectionist point of view, what you should do is write down a list of all of the things that you want to do, and you'll see that list goes on and on and on. But if you only have to do 3 of them, or even 2 of them, which 2 would you choose? That is how you prioritize. You say, I would do bink this one and bink this one, and everything else is just noise. Another thing about prioritizing is that quite often I can ignore something, no thank you, and then it gets louder and louder and more important, and then I'm like, okay, I'll do that thing. Now, I'm not saying you should procrastinate on things. What I'm saying is sometimes the loud things in your mind aren't the important things, but the important things will eventually sort of bubble up to the surface and you have to do them. That's how I prioritize. I choose 1 or 2 big things I want to do that day and let all the noise just settle down. And if something is really important, it has a tendency to bubble up to the surface and be like, do this now. And then you do it. Another thing people get really wrong is not doing tasks based on the amount of energy they have throughout the day. I do big, energy demanding, sort of focus filled tasks, things that need brain energy and power first thing in the morning, because that is when I have the most energy. I wake up, I have breakfast, and then boom, I'm ready to go. It's also about sort of like getting the biggest task out of the way, and having all that energy to focus on it is so very important. Other people are night owls. They prefer an afternoon thing. So they would put that really important task in the afternoon when they have the energy for it. You need to work out when you have the most energy and work with your own kind of like daily energy flux. If it's high, do the really important task. If it's low, do that like admin stuff, just respond to emails, maybe sort of like read over that paper. That is how you manage your time to make sure that not only are you sort of like putting your attention in the right spot, but when you've got that attention in the right spot, you have the energy to do it efficiently and properly. There we are. Energy. Work with yours, not someone else's. You've heard it here first. Say no to your supervisor. I know that's easier said than done. Some of them can be right pains in the arse and quite scary if you ask me. But saying no more often means that you're going to free up time to focus on what you should be doing. Now, there's loads of requests that often get put on PhD students that are just pointless. Some of them are more useful than others, but examples are, we're running this event, could you manage it for us? Like, it could be like just a little symposia, and they say,
this will look good on your CV.
Which it may look good on your CV if you want to go into like management of symposia, but it's not really good on your CV if you're looking for an academic job, because the really only things that matter are getting papers and bringing in money. If you've got loads of papers, they don't care how many symposia you organize. It's not like you could do like 100 symposia and write like 1 paper and they'd be like, but this person's got loads of symposia that they've organized. Unless you're planning on sort of doing that as a career, it's pointless. So a lot of times you can say no, I don't have time for that. That is not my priority. So when you speak to them about saying no, it's not like no because I hate you. It's no because that is not my priority. Taking ownership seems to sort of like just bat away their assertions a little bit more. Another thing that academics quite often find themselves being lured into is paper baiting, as I call it, which is like,
I'll put your name on my paper if you do this little experiment for me.
Now, I'm not saying don't do these, but you have to be very selective. Probably about 10% of all of the effort I put into someone else's paper actually resulted in a paper. And you start to understand who is actually true to their word. I've got a couple of friends who I sort of like collaborated with, and we went backwards and forwards with different techniques on each other's papers, and I knew that had a good chance of being fruitful for my career. However, sometimes a professor would come up to me, he would know that I've got certain skills on certain instruments or certain things that he wants, and he goes,
Andy, I was just thinking, could you do this, this, and this, and this, and then I'll put you on my paper.
And I'm like,
yeah, I'll do that.
But quite often, those ones weren't the ones that came to fruition. So make sure that you're very selective. And in the early days, if you got people saying do papers, just sort of like if you got time, do them, but then work out very quickly who's there just to waste your time. One of the last things I would say is batching and automation. In the world of AI tools, which we all know I love, it is very, very easy to automate certain things now. If you've got to reformat a paper, write or draft a paragraph, that is all available on AI tools. So remember to like and subscribe, because I have loads of AI video tools specifically for academics, and go check out the channel. There's loads of stuff. One thing that isn't talked about enough is batching. So for example, Emails is a prime example that you should batch. Now, a perfectionist always says,
I should respond to an email right away because that's the best thing I can do for everyone.
when in fact it is not the best thing you can do for everyone, because what happens is your day and your timing is dictated by other people's priorities, and that is not good for time management. So just turn off your notifications, don't look at emails, and look at them maybe mid-morning and after lunch. Something like that worked for me, and it just meant that I wasn't ruminating all the time, seeing an email come in, and then you start thinking, oh, should I do the thing? How do I respond? It just fills up your brain until it's just so full of emails that you're just kind of distracted and you can't focus. So batching means that you can focus on one task, and if someone really wants to get hold of you, they'll be able to find you in the department, and it's very rare that an urgent email comes in where it's like,
You need to respond to this in the next 5 seconds, otherwise blah, blah, blah.
nothing like that has ever happened in my career. Maybe people think that's what I should do. Maybe they're like, this is urgent, respond. But it's never urgent. It's urgent for them. It's not urgent for you or me or anyone else. So make sure you batch up your stuff, because otherwise you end up multitasking, and multitasking is a massive pain in the bum bum. Ooh, bum bum. But do not multitask, batch up stuff. Emails is a great example. Writing is another one. Reading is another time. Set aside good times for only doing those things, and I think you'll find your time management skills and your productivity will go through the roof. If you like this video, go check out this one where I talk about the 5 habits for monster PhD productivity. I think you'll love it.